Hello, future engineering students. Today we are going to be talking about the Space Shuttle Columbia accident in 2003. My name is Valerie Wren.
My name is Aina Palomero.
I'm Kalina Weisner.
And my name's Nina Pfeiffer, and we're undergraduate students at the University of Wisconsin-Madison Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering.
A few days after the accident, George W. Bush, the current president, said, "Mankind is led into darkness beyond our world by the inspiration of discovery and the longing to understand. Our journey into space will go on." It is important to note that this accident occurred less than 2 years after the 9/11 attacks. So George W. Bush had to contend with not one, but two accidents that killed Americans. And he had to express a strong and united front and a continuation towards research. And while it is important to continue the space exploration and research, it is also important to reflect back on the engineering design failures and the ethical failures that led to the accident, because that way engineers are able to improve on their practice and limit human life from being lost. Today, we are first going to talk about exactly what happened during the space shuttle's launch and the subsequent crash. Then we are going to talk about the overarching cause of the accident, as well as some specific causes for the accident. Then we are going to discuss the victims of this accident, and then the immediate consequences and the immediate actions as a result of the accident. And then we're going to end by talking about the engineering design and processes that have changed today because of this accident.
So, what happened? The Space Shuttle Columbia broke apart and killed 7 people due to a technical mishap. So, the Space Shuttle Columbia launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, January 16, 2003. The expedition began as part of a scientific research project and lasted 16 days. So there were 7 astronauts on board that were conducting the scientific research experiments, and following these, or after the 16 days in space, they re-entered Earth's atmosphere. The engineering problem in this situation was that a piece of foam broke off from an external tank during launch, and which was observed through camera footage while the launch occurred by NASA. It hit a thermal protection system on the left wing of the shuttle, which caused a hole in the shuttle. Now, this was an issue when the shuttle was re-entering Earth's atmosphere, as very high temperatures entered the shuttle through this hole and caused melting of very important technical aspects of the ship, causing it to break apart. Officials at NASA did want pictures of the wing before re-entry, but higher officials decided that it wasn't necessary and that the foam should be okay in terms of when the shuttle re-enters Earth. And seen on the picture on the right is the space shuttle debris that was found across the state of Texas, where it broke apart.
As described by the Columbia Accident Investigation Board's report in front of Congress, the overarching cause of this failure was NASA's organizational structure. There was incomplete and invalid impact analysis due to a reliance on past successes. Furthermore, there was organizational barriers that prevented communication between engineers and upper managers in charge of making these really crucial decisions, like seeking satellite images, as Ina so diligently pointed out. Furthermore, there was a flaw in NASA's culture that really allowed for groupthink instead of critical thinking to occur. Groupthink is defined as opting to conform to consensus view rather than engaging in critical thinking. So instead of when engineers bring up the problem of this hole in the wing, instead of that being met with a group discussion about what to do and the potential risks, instead it was the managers who shot it down, came to a consensus, and everybody then came into agreement. This led to this engineering failure.
The problem with the foam had been known for years, but was never addressed. This is because NASA believed that tests of specific foam sizes hitting the wing were not crucial for astronaut safety because the factor that mattered is the energy of the debris. If this accident was to be pinned on one person, it would be Linda Ham, who was the chairwoman of the mission management team. She did not let engineer Don L. McCormick Jr. talk in the meeting, according to transcripts from previous meetings, when he started talking about potential risks while the flight was still in space. The transcripts showed that the team was not fully on guard because it happened over the long weekend of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. However, she was in very contradicting roles at this time that NASA had put her in. One of these roles being keeping astronauts safe, and the other being protecting the longevity of the space program. These goals contradict because in order to fulfill one goal, the other may be let down. Deontology can be used to explain this situation. Deontology is the use of rules to determine right from wrong. Therefore, determining what goal would be the best to fulfill would be based on what is right from wrong. There was an overwhelming feeling that if the foam had broke, it wouldn't do any damage due to this being a common occurrence in past launches. The CAIB, or the Columbia Accident Investigation Board, identified 8 missed opportunities to determine the extent of the damage. Although it is easy to pin the blame on one singular person, the NASA team must all be held responsible and accountable for this accident. During the investigation into the Columbia accident, it was found that there were systematic issues with NASA's organizational structure that contributed to the accident. There were failures in communication, decision-making processes, and risk assessment, and many concerns were not adequately addressed within the organization. Many were affected by this accident. During the accident, the 7 astronauts aboard died. Commander Rick Husband, pilot William McCool, mission specialists Michael Anderson, David Brown, Kalpana Chawla, and Laurel Clark, and payload specialist Elon Ramon. Immediately after the accident, many were still affected, including the families and loved ones of the astronauts, the entire NASA organization. Also, a helicopter searching for debris crashed in Texas, killing the pilot and a Forest Service ranger. And the political and public perception was also quickly affected. In a survey posed after the loss of Columbia, nearly 60% of respondents said they were deeply upset by the event, similar to the response after the Challenger accident that had happened previous to this accident. And about 70% said they had expected that something like this would happen again sooner or later, according to NBC News.
So, following the Columbia Space Shuttle incident, launching of future shuttles was put on pause. According to an article by Space Exploration, in the following 2 years after the incident, no space shuttles were allowed to launch. The Columbia Accident Investigation Board was formed very soon after the incident occurred, and they recommended that the space shuttle program should end due to the previous and the Columbia incidents. After this incident in 2011, NASA decided that the space shuttle program should be shut down, and it was on that same year, 2011, the last shuttle landed for the last time. NASA also established an agreement with Russia to create a program where American astronauts could still travel into space and conduct scientific research, but it would be through their aircrafts instead of some here in America. And as Kalina mentioned, many changes have been made to policies and processes in NASA, and a safety center was established to manage engineering problems within NASA. And on the picture on the right can be seen a space shuttle that was put for display in a museum, as space shuttles have now been retired from usage.
So, in the aftermath of this incident, engineering practices and organizational culture of NASA faced great changes. Engineering practices changed from analyzing incidents and accidents to focusing on more day-to-day models of operation. So practices began to prioritize potential major risks rather than dealing with them when they arose. And according to the United States Congress Senate hearing on this incident, they pointed out many structural changes in NASA. Like Ina just mentioned, they established the NASA Engineering and Safety Center. So when a potential issue arises during engineering or safety assessments, that engineer is able to get the entire agency to help them find a solution to that issue. Also, there was many different changes across NASA's organizational culture and management. So they now strive to develop a system that reflects a learning organization and strives for open and clear communication. They also created more effective management procedures, safeguards, and decision-making processes. In addition, the ultimate changes was in safety management. So new procedures were implemented, such as astronauts using robotic arms and cameras to scan the shuttle for damage. So as photographed here, camera equipment has been implemented on many shuttles, and especially during takeoff to look for potential falling foam pieces or other damage that could be caused to the ship. So in conclusion, what happened? The Columbia Space Shuttle took flight on January 16, 2003. During takeoff, a piece of insulating foam broke off the wing and caused damage to the shuttle. On re-entry of the Earth's atmosphere on February 1st, 2003, the shuttle broke apart, killing 7 astronauts inside. Who was to blame? The engineering cause of this accident was a typical occurring engineering failure. However, the ethical blame is on both Linda Ham and NASA. Linda Ham did not listen to engineers that reported the damage, but Linda Ham was in conflicting roles, which was appointed by NASA. So ultimately, the ethical failings is on the NASA's organization. NASA not only appointed Linda in these conflicting roles, but there were also serious flaws in NASA's organizational structure. So how did engineering change? From this, NASA underwent tremendous changes in their organization, such as the new Safety Center Agency. They now strive for proper communication and learning environments, and a change to management process and operation procedures. Engineering as a whole also changed as increasing prioritizing potential risk in day-to-day operations. Furthermore, engineering now strives to optimize organization of companies and the ability to communicate rather than just focusing on the actual engineering practice. It broadens the field to have a better understanding of the importance of communication and organization within a team. Thank you for listening, and here are our sources.